Mr. Lofton, before the cameras rolled, you talked about that you went into the military voluntarily. What happened between the time you were 17 until the time you enrolled? What made you do this?
Well,
when so many people were being drafted that you went voluntarily.
well, the thing is this: I knew I was going. I was considered expendable because I had 5 kids in my family, so I knew they were going to get me. Because my brother, he was in the airborne, he was just getting out. My cousin that I was telling you, the other, he was a Marine, he was just getting out. So I was at the age where I was right to go in because after I graduated high school, I got a job at 19th and Huntington Park in Philly at this coverall factory, and that was my first job, coming from high school, and I thought it was a big deal, but I kept reading, we kept getting more and more reports about what was happening in Vietnam. Nobody knew where Vietnam was at the time. And, when you're at that age, at that period in our life, at that time, we were you pledge allegiance to the flag. You did everything like you're supposed to do it. It was a my country, 'tis of thee type thing. My country, right or wrong. And they said we got to stop these gooks from taking over Vietnam because they're eventually going to work their way over here. This is what they told us. So we were like defending our territory, and this was great. This was beat into you. Because when I was coming up, when you were in elementary, junior high, senior high, before you even started your day, you pledge allegiance to the flag, and you sang the national anthem, and then you started your day. They don't even do that in the day, as far as I know. But that's what every school did. This is the way you were brought up. And the way I was brought up, I didn't know anything about prejudice because it wasn't drummed into me. Me being a black person, I never experienced prejudice from where I was at. Now, I'm not saying I know it's happening all around me, but I never experienced it myself. To me, a white person was just a white person. I had white friends in school. It was no big thing. When we moved from Tacony in Northeast. We moved from Tacony projects to Tioga in North Philly. That was a big move because the projects that were in Tacony, they were meant to be barracks for soldiers. But since the Korean War was over, so what they did, they made them into homes, and the area that I lived in was all black. We were surrounded by whites, but it wasn't no thing. Like I said, we didn't know the thing about prejudice. We didn't know the thing about segregation. We didn't know none of that. It was a factory called Peter Wool's that was right there, and the workers used to throw down candy to the kids, and we would just, go crazy for the candy or what have you. But when we moved to Tioga, it was like moving to New York City, because we wasn't used to all the big buildings, and when we got our home on Venango Street, it was like, wow, just double-decker home and, all of this stuff going on. And that's where I grew up. I went to Kennerton Elementary School in Tioga, and then from there I went to Simon Gratz High School, from Gillespie to Simon Gratz High School. And when I graduated there, that's when I got the job at Coveralls, and I thought I was a big deal, But in the meantime, we were all avid readers. We knew how to read, and I would read the papers, the daily news, and they, was talking about this war in Vietnam, and everybody saying, well, where the hell is Vietnam, But as things got later on in during that period, that 2-year period, it became quite evident that this was serious. And I said, well, they kept sending me flyers to come join the Army, come join the Air Force, come join the Marines, the Navy, what have you. So I said, well, if I'm going to make a choice, I'll go in the Marines, And little did I know what I was getting myself into. But anyway, the reason I did it because my cousin was a Marine, and I looked up to him, and he was in his dress blues coming home during leave, and I just admired the heck out of it. I said, well, man, that's what I want to do, But anyway, I joined, and the funny thing about it, after I joined, signed up, I was walking to my grandmother's house in Frankfurt, and I saw my cousin Ray and my cousin Jimmy, and they had just gotten out of the service. My cousin Jimmy was a tank commander or something in Europe. My cousin Ray, like I said, he's a Marines, and they're walking, and I'm walking toward them, and I said, "Hey, guess what?" They said, "What?" I said, "I joined the Marines." They looked at me and said, "You did what?" I said, "I joined the Marines." And they looked at each other. I said, and I'm thinking, damn, what did I do? They looked at each other and said, "Well, just do what they tell you." So I said, "Well, okay." And to make a long story short, got my stuff together, said goodbye to my employees, my fellow employees, and they were all looking at me like, just hang in there, Greg, because they all knew, because they were older than me, and they all knew, but I didn't know. I was innocent. And I went down to the airport. My girlfriend, who's my wife now, we were childhood sweethearts. She went down to the airport with me on the subway and in the bus, and no, she went down to the place where at 401 Broad Street, North Broad Street, where we had to gather. And I left her, and we got on a bus, and we went to the airport. And I'm thinking that we were going to get on a nice jet, something like that. We got on a diesel prop plane. Can you believe that? I said, man, I thought we was going to ride in style. We were riding in a 4-engine diesel plane, 2-engine diesel plane, smelling and stinking, and I said, man, this is rough. So we started off rough. I started off rough right away. So we flew down to South Carolina and got off the plane and got on the bus. And they said, when the DI comes, when you get to Parrish Island, that's it. You're ours, And when we got to Parrish Island, everybody's playing and having a good time on the bus. When we got to that overpass, it got quiet as a church mouse because everybody was scared shitless, And of course, the DIs came out there and they jumped on us like, oh. And they trained us hard. I was in N Company, and they trained us hard. I mean, super hard. I mean, nothing was easy. Nothing, because these guys, they knew what it was to be in battle, and they were preparing us, and they cut us no breaks, and, they did everything that they could think of to prepare us for the fight. And my senior drill instructor, I'll never forget him, Sergeant Abash and Sergeant Kristovich, his assistant, and Sergeant Kern, they were the best. And these guys were from like Korea. As a matter of fact, the master sergeant is from World War II, so they knew what to do with us, to prepare us. And after they whipped us into shape, and our platoon was the best out of N Company, so we got all the guidance. And one thing they show you, if you don't know anything, you know how to shoot. You know how to use the rifle. From the first general on down to the private, you're a rifleman first, no matter what. I don't care if you got 4 stars on your shoulder or you got no stripe at all. You're a rifleman first. Mm-hmm. That goes for everybody. Everybody's on that same level. And they teach you how to shoot, So we knew how to shoot. I could shoot today. I'll shoot a lot of people. We went, in parentheses, we went down to this one place while I was somewhere. And my son thought he could outshoot me. No, couldn't even come close. But anyway, once we got finished at Parrish Island, everybody thought that we were going to go home for a break, and they said, no, you're going to Camp Lejeune. So we had to get back on a bus, go to Camp Lejeune, and do more training. I mean, it was rough. And then after that, they said, okay, you can go home for a couple of weeks, but, you got to catch a flight over to Camp Pendleton in California. And when me and my buddies were going over to the airport, my girlfriend, who's my wife now, came with us. And when we got to the airport, it's not like a security is now. You can roam freely. And, I'll never forget it. we stand in our uniforms, and we were talking, and, and all of a sudden everybody got quiet, and my wife ran away crying, and I'm like, wow, this is really serious because I may not see you ever again. And we got on a jet, and we flew all the way across to to L.A. And from L.A. we flew down to San Diego, and from there they had buses waiting for us to take us to Camp Pendleton. And then at Camp Pendleton we did more training. I never did so much training in all my life. But what they were doing, they were preparing us. It's not like the Army. It's not like, and I'm not putting the Army down, but it's not like the Army. And we trained more and more there, and I saw a few of my high school buddies marching in another platoon going by. Hey, Greg, how you doing, And I said, well, at least I know a few people are down there with me. But anyway, after that, they said, okay, we're going to put you on a ship, and you're going to sail over. I thought we was going to fly over. He said, no, you're going to sail over on a troop ship. And can you imagine 3,000 Marines on a troop ship?
3,000.
And we got on the ship, right? and everybody's, we say, well, this is an adventure. Everybody, because, when you're young, you want to see everything, want to experience everything. And when we hit the breakwater out of the harbor, everybody was throwing up. Everybody was leaning over. Can you imagine? Everybody, we was chumming the ocean. I mean, we were all throwing up, and it took about 3 days for you to get used to it, before you get that seaborne. And once that, some guys never did recover. They had to put them off in Hawaii. But we sailed to Hawaii, and we were having a great time, and from there we sailed to Okinawa. And then they took 300 of us off the ship. And, I said, well, we're skating. We don't have to go to Vietnam. I said, man, what a break. Yeah, break all right. Little did I know that we were replacements for 2 decimated battalions. Oh. The 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, the 1st Battalion, 9th Marines. And we learned that later on. And we said, wow, well, at least we're not going right in, Little did I know that we were going to be out there hitting the beach, raring for a fight. Well, we were in Okinawa. We did more training in Okinawa. And Okinawa is one of the roughest terrains you'll ever see because it's only but so long. But Okinawa, that was the last battlefield for the Marines after World War II, before World War II ended. And it was so demanding, that you couldn't lay back. You had to, everything you did, you had to do with all your heart and muscle and guidance. And we pulled operations, practice operations up in the northern part of Okinawa. And like I said, it was really tough terrain. And then they put us back on the ship, and I'll never forget it. We were standing there, just after Thanksgiving, we were standing there, and I'm saying, man, and it was raining. And we're standing in formation, with all our gear, and we say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going down to Vietnam, tomorrow, and blah, blah. And we have to get on the ships. We're not flying down, we're getting on the ship. So nobody knew exactly what that meant. But anyway, the next day we boarded ship, a troop carrier, and this was a different type of ship, and it held troops. So the Iwo Jima aircraft carrier was taking A and B company, and I can't remember the name of the ship, but they were taking C and D company, and I was in C company. D company was an unlucky company, by the way. But anyway, we get on the ship and we sail down, and we sailed to Taiwan. And when we got to Taiwan, we ran into a what kind of storm you call it? A typhoon. Ran into a typhoon. It was one of the most frightening things you could ever experience, because out there you're nothing. If that ship goes down, that's it. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I said, because when the ship would go down like this, you could see the water right there above you. And then when the water went down, you could see down. So it was like this, Mm-hmm. It was constantly, and you got too close to the rail. If you went over, they could never find you. They had to keep going. They couldn't find you. So nobody went near the rail, but I poked my head out the door and I said, oh God, all I saw was nothing but water looking right at me. But anyway, we got through it and we sailed down to the Philippines, at Subic Bay. And that was the naval base down there. And the outside Subic Bay was this town called Alancapole, and that's where all the Navy and Marines went to party and cut loose and let their hair down a little. But anyway, that's when our lieutenant and captain told us what we were going to do. We were going to pull operations up and down the coast of Vietnam from the DMZ down to Da Nang, because that was I Corps area. That was all Marine Corps area. Anything further down was Army area. So towards Saigon, that's all. We never went down there. But anyway, we pulled our first operation. You get on the Amtrak, this huge ship had all these Amtraks on there. You get on there, and you get all your gear on, and you're heading toward the beach. And then that's when your imagination takes over. You say, man, what's going to happen when we get out of this Amtrak? Are they going to mow us down or what? Like you see in the movies or something, But it never happened. It only happened when we were inland. So anyway, we pulled operations, it was called a search and destroy missions at that time. And they changed the name, but at the time when I was there, it was search and destroy. And we would go down and do our patrols and what have you, And the first person that I seen get killed, his name was Lawrence, Larry Johnson. He was from Mifflin Street, Broad Mifflin. He was a corpsman. He wasn't a Marine, he was a corpsman. He was our corpsman. And Larry Johnson, we always teased him, and he was like the butt of all jokes, but we loved him. We give him anything we got, but don't mess with Larry unless we mess with him, We would always joke with him and have fun with him and stuff like that. He was like our punching bag, But anyway, what happened was we were going on my first patrol, and they put me up front as a point man, walking point. And the reason being is that I was so new that it would be better if I died then than to go through the whole war and die. It's better to die early than die late. That was the thinking back then. And so I'm walking point, and I have my rifle like this because I was an A-gunner, so I didn't have a machine gun at the time. I'm walking with my rifle like this. I said, well, don't hit me in my heart or my privates. That's all I was thinking. I'm walking and I'm looking, and like you see on TV where they're all close, that's bullshit. The closest person to you is at least 15 feet away on the other side. So it was like staggered. Mm-hmm. So when you see that stuff on TV, don't pay no attention to it because it's not true. You try to space yourself, so one round don't get all of you. One grenade don't get all of you. But anyway, I'm walking point, scared shitless. I'm so scared. I'm looking and seeing nothing. I'm looking everywhere and seeing nothing. So we were heading toward this village, and at the time it was a squad-sized patrol. So it was 12 of us. We were walking, and I'm saying, man, I can't see a thing, and I'm looking, trying to see everything. And we were approaching this village. It wasn't exactly a village, it's like a few huts and what have you. We were approaching it, and this guy named Reed, no, not Reed, I can't remember his name, he said, Take that cherry off the point. He doesn't know what he's looking for, talking about me. So the sergeant said, okay, Greg, you go back there and take his spot. So I was saying, thank you, God. So I let him walk the point because he knows what to look for. No sooner we got about 50 yards close to the village, and he got gut shot. Oh. That could have been me. That would have been me. And the funny thing about it, it happened so fast. The minute he got shot, I could see the guy that did it. He was in this like hooch, and I cut loose. We all were cut loose, It was like a ditch beside us, and I jumped behind a tree, and I was firing at everything, try to get this guy. And we moved them out because they were shooting back at us, but they weren't good shots. I'll be honest with you, they weren't good shots. And we moved them out of this village, pushed them out of the village, and me and this guy named Bohan was my best buddy. He's a white guy, but we were like this. I couldn't do without him, he couldn't do without me. And me and Bohan chased this one guy down, and he went into this like half a hooch, like a hole or something. And they ran in there, and we stuck our rifles in there and shot in there to him and said, "Donkey down, get out." And they wouldn't get out, so I took a grenade and threw it in there, And I said, "That's that." And meantime, the rest of the platoon, the rest of the squad had moved up outside of the village, and it was this big area, and it was this like tall sugar cane, but by this big clear area, and they were lined up in this ditch. We caught up with them, and just as we caught up with them, Andrew Johnson. Oh, in the meantime, we called in the chopper to get this guy out that got gut shot. I don't know if he lived through it or not. To this day, I don't know. But anyway, we ran up to catch up with the rest of the squad, and we were lined up, and they were shooting at us, and we were shooting back. But the sergeant said, "Save your ammo because you might need it," because we didn't know how many were out there. And then all of a sudden, the sergeant said, "Look, they're going to come," And he said, "Greg," you and who's this other Johnson? No, not Johnson. This other guy, I can't remember his name. We had these what they call Willie Peter grenades, and they're white phosphorus grenades, and they're gray, and they're heavy, and they have a yellow band around them. And if you have one of those, we only had two. You could only carry two because they're so heavy. And he said, "Greg," because you're screaming at him, he said, "Greg, get ready to use that WP," And he shouted to the other guy, "Get ready to use it because they're coming," because you could see the cane start to move. They were coming after us. And in the meantime, Johnson, he had ran across this open area. We said, "What in the world is he doing?" Because he wasn't trained. And he ran across and they cut him down. They cut him down. And he said, "Oh, I'm hit. I'm hit." And he fell on his knees, and we like what? We'd never seen one of our Marines get killed like that, And they cut him to pieces. And they were coming through the cane. And he said, "Get ready to throw these Willie Peters," And I popped the pin. And he said, "All right, ready, throw." And those things are so heavy. But the fright will give you extra strength. And we threw those Willie Peters in that field. And when it hits, it's white smoke, and you see the sparkles come down. When the sparkles come down, they go right through you. And you could hear the screaming and hollering in this cane field, and we cut that cane field down. We cut it down with all the firepower that we could muster. And it was hot. It was like 110 degrees. It was hot. And we cut that field down, and three of our guys got hit. And it was by that time, the company came up. The rest of the company came up to rescue us. And our captain said, "Look, you guys been through a lot. So you just hang back. We'll take care of the rest." And they kept on through the field, and we just hang back. Me and Lovett and Porky and a few other guys. No, not Porky. A few in Bohan. We all sat there on the mound of dirt, and we looked at each other like, "Damn, we got to go through this for a year. We're not going to make it," And the company caught up with them, and they just about wiped them out. And come to find out that you see that guy that took a 45 and blew the guy's brains out on TV. You see that? That's what this Vietnamese did to this other Vietnamese. That happened all the time. It wasn't just that. It happened all the time. And I was told about this. I didn't see it. But Porky told me, he said, "Greg," he said, they got this one guy. He was supposed to be the leader or something. And he said this other Vietnamese Army lieutenant or something came up and just blew his brains out. I said, "Wow, okay, so be it, But anyway, we got back on. We pulled more patrols up and down the coast. And then the last operation that we did, you wouldn't get back on the ship. They put you in the hottest place they could find. When I say hot, I mean active place, which was the DMZ. So, like I said, we sailed up the coast. And in the meantime, that happened for a month. We would go back and forth. Operation would happen. Not too much was happening. But anyway, the last landing, our captain told us, he said, "Take everything with you because you're not getting back on the ship." And we looked at each other like, "What?" And he said, "No, you're not getting back on the ship because another company's going to take your place. And they'll be doing the raids up and down the coast." So he said, "They're going to put us in the hottest place they can find." But I mean the most active, which was the DMZ, a 3 mile radius, distance rather between north and south. And we got on the ship and we headed up toward the DMZ. And when we got up there, they saw this sampan that was like following us or something. And the Navy gunships just blew it out of the water. You know, it's an amazing sight to see, by the way. But anyway, blew it out of the water. And they said, and our captain said, take all your water, take all your ammunition, you know, because you don't know when you're going to get any more, you know. So take it all, you know, your first aid kit, whatever, you know. All I was concerned about was ammunition and water. Now you can do without food, but you can't do without water, you know. And anybody that tells you that they won't drink this or won't eat that, they're full of shit. Because let me tell you something: if you get thirsty enough, you'll drink anything, anything. They gave us these iodine tablets, and you switch away that buffalo dung water and crappy water. You swish it away, put your canteen down there, put some iodine tablets in there, shake it up, and you drank it happily. You know, that's in parentheses. But anyway,
how heavy were your packs?
They were pretty heavy. They were about 50 pounds. Maybe a little less than that. You know, it all depends on what you were carrying. So at the time, I was still an A gunner. You know, I was an ammo carrier, you know, for the machine gunner. And we carried 300 rounds of machine gun ammo. And like when you see it on TV and they have these bandoliers of ammo, that's bullshit. Because you don't want to get your ammo dirty. Because if you get it dirty, it's not going to work.
Right.
You know, so that is just for show. Our ammo was in packs, you know, and with a strap around, so you string it around like that. But we never had our ammo just sitting out like that. You know, that's crap. But anyway, we headed toward shore and toward the sand, the salt flats, and nothing was happening until we got further in, and then that's when we got hit. And they were shooting, and like I said, I was spread eagle. I said, well, I'm not going to make it. You know, this is it for me. You know, I was spread out, I was caught out in the open, and they shot all around me, you know, but they never touched me. God's hand was over me. And when our snipers got them and took them out because they were up in the trees and what have you. You know, when I got up, everybody was looking at me like, wow, man, you know, we got to keep you around because you're our lucky piece. You know, you're around Lofton, we don't have to worry about nothing. And it was true. As time went on throughout the year, you learn all the do's and don'ts, and you try to teach the new guys that come in. And some you can't, you know. But anyway, we got up and we continued on, and then that's when we got into that horrific fight in the trenches. It was horrible. I mean, it was the worst thing that anybody could ever imagine. You can't even imagine it. You know, the things that you would do to survive. You do it, you know, if you want to live. You know, and it happens so fast. Like I said, it's not like stuff you see on TV. It only takes about 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes at the very most. The very 5 minutes is like eternity, you know, but we got in there and we took care of it. You know, we did what we had to do. And then we continued on up toward our destination was Cantien, which is further up in the DMZ. And it's the most deepest part of the border line between North and South Vietnam. So that is the most dangerous area. They talk about Khe Sanh. Khe Sanh wasn't hardly as dangerous as Cantien. Cantien was it, you know. And right outside of Cantien was this objective that we were supposed to go to called Marketplace. And anybody can tell you Marketplace was Death Valley. You were guaranteed to fight, guaranteed. And we got in there and we just rocked it, man. It was, you know, eye for an eye, take no prisoners, do what you have to do, you know. And in the meantime, like I said, you're scared shitless because you don't know what's going to happen, when you're going to get it. You just resign yourself to the fact that, you know, let the Lord handle it because I can't do any more, you know. Well, in the meantime, my ankle has swollen up the size of a pineapple. And we were in the marketplace, and I couldn't go much further because I was limping. I was using my rifle as a crutch almost. And they said, Lofton, you got to get out of here because you're not going to. So they sent in a chopper to get me out. And this guy named Pierpont, he said, Lofton, he said, you keep your weapon so clean. He said, can I use your rifle? And I was reluctant, but I said, okay, you take it because I won't need it. And I got on the chopper, and they took me to the aircraft carrier Iwo Jima. And I'm laying there on the cot, after they treated my leg and everything. I'm laying there, and they had sedated me. I was asleep for overnight. And when I woke up, I saw a few of my wounded buddies sitting there playing cards. And they said, Greg, you all right? I said, yeah. I said, I didn't get hit anything. I said, I just badly sprained ankle. I couldn't walk on it. So he was saying, well, did you look at the not the deck, what's the area underneath the aircraft carrier deck? The hangar deck. I said, Greg, did you see the hangar deck? So I said, no. He said, go take a look. So I got my crutches, and I walked out to the hangar deck, and I looked down, and guess what I saw? Row after row after row of dead Marines. This is the honest God's truth. And there was so many there that the choppers couldn't bring them in. They had to send them back inland because they were bringing them to Iwo Jima, and they said, we don't have any room. You got to take them back. And they took them back inland. I don't know where they took the bodies, but it was so many bodies down there. It made me sick to my stomach. So
was that from the marketplace or from various other
from various other battles. And so anyway, after my foot, I was on there for about 2 days, and I wanted to get back with my guys. I didn't feel right being here. I wanted to get back. I guess it sounds crazy. Yeah,
you didn't have a sense of relief being on the ship and just being away from it.
I just I felt like I was abandoning my guys. I said I got to get back. So when I got back, by that time they were in Cantien, in the inner circle of Cantien, and we were talking to a few other guys. I skipped over one part. When on that charge, my man Bohan, he and I got separated. And when the fight was over, I said, well, where's Bohan? And they said, the lieutenant said, Greg, he's over there. He's laying down. So I said, okay. So I went over there and I kicked his boot. Come on, man, let's go. He said, he's not waking up, Greg. He's dead. I said, what? I mean, it broke my heart. It broke my heart. To this day, it still breaks my heart. Because he had showed me a picture of his girlfriend and his newborn kid, that he's saying, hey, Greg, when I get back, I'm going to take care of my baby or whatever. He never made it. He was laying there dead, and a few other guys were, head blown off and what have you. But Bohan that really broke my heart. And after that, we were at Cantien for a while. Then they took us and shipped us back down to Dongha, which is further away, near the DNZ, but it's much further away. And that was like our rear base, so we could regroup, and resupply ourselves and what have you, and get some rest because we had been through a lot. And we were there for a while, and then come to find out that the NBA had tried to overrun Cantien. So we had to get right back on the choppers and go right back, to Cantien. And when we got there, by that time I was in charge of the machine gun, and I kept it clean as you could eat off of it because I know that if you had a dirty weapon, it wouldn't work. Not in that atmosphere. You had to have a clean weapon. And when we got to Cantien, we had to clean out the bunkers because they had been overrun. And we were dragging out bodies left and right. And I went into this one bunker, and all of a sudden, an arm just came up out of the sand like this. Was that rigor mortis or something? It came out of the sand like this and scared the crap out of me. And we pulled them out. They were dead Marines, and we were all over the place. But it was a lot of dead NBA. They killed a lot of them. So they had to get the bulldozers. They had 2 bulldozers up there, and they had to dig these deep ditches. And we had to go through the pockets of the NBA soldiers and what have you. And they had families just like we did.
Mm-hmm.
They had girlfriends and parents, pictures and stuff like that. And we're throwing these bodies down, and it was bodies stacked higher than the ceiling. And we had to go through their belongings. And I can't tell you how many. It was a lot. And we had to throw the bodies down into the ditch and cover it up with dirt, never to be seen again by their people. And to this day, I say, man, they were people just like us. And their parents or their girlfriends would never know what happened to them because they're laying in a ditch with 10 other, God knows how many bodies on top of them, unmarked graves. And the smell, oh God, the smell of death is like a sweet, pungent odor. It's hard to describe. It's bad. It's bad. It's a sweet, pissy odor, and it's all over there. And before you know it, it's in your clothes and everything. And matter of fact, when we got that back to Dang Ha, you're so dirty and filthy, and you smell so bad. Other Marines don't want to be around you. Man, you better go do a field day on yourself. You stink like God knows what. Because when you're out there in the jungle, you can't smell it.
Mm-hmm.
But people can smell you. You could, if I was out there, you could say, "Oh God, Greg," because you're sweating and body odor. The worst smelling thing out there is a human being. That's no lie. Monkeys don't stink, alligators don't stink, birds don't stink, wild boars, hogs, they don't stink. But the human body stinks. Mm-hmm. Trust me. And anyway, we had, like I said, we had to go out there and clean that mess up. And I had my machine gun in the bunker. And I was cleaning everything up. And I had my crew. And I said, look, they're coming tonight. We know they're coming, so just be ready.
How did you know they were coming?
Because they never stopped, because they thought they had us. And I'm sitting there, I said, well, come on with it. I said, I got my grenades here, and I got my machine gun ready. And if anything happens, I'm just going to give it my best. I'm not going down without a fight. And we sat there and waited, and just about before daybreak started, you could see them coming. And they tried to charge us. And I was shooting, my machine gun was so hot, because they give you 2 barrels, so you could change your barrel. And my machine gun was so hot, I shot so many rounds, and I could see them falling. I couldn't see their faces, but I could see them fall, and they almost overran us. I had to get my machine gun out of the bunker and jump out. And just as I jumped out, these 2 NVA jumped in, and I shot them dead, before they could get me, And we backed up to the second perimeter, and we held them off, And then by that time, the gunships came around, and word was said, get into your holes because the gunships are coming. And when they come, it's like every so many inches is a bullet. So when a gunship comes down, it leans like this, and you have like maybe 5. We call it Puff the Magic Dragon. It had like maybe 5 or 6 Gatling guns on the side. When it tilted like that, they would fire, and it was just like a wide sheet of lightning, and it just ripped up everything. So we got in our holes, man. I could hear some of the rounds hitting, but outside of the perimeter, they just cleaned it up. They cleaned it up, and when we got out there, it was so many bodies you wouldn't believe. You just wouldn't believe. And we cleaned that up. It took us about a couple days to get everything squared away, and then they sent us back down to Dang Ha. And then other than that, we went to Camp Evans right outside of Fubai. We were stationed there for a while, and that's not too far from Khe Sanh. And we were stationed, we were at Camp Evans, and, we did our regular patrols and what have you. It wasn't too much happening. As a matter of fact, you would say, man, I wish something would happen, because it got boring. But then when it did happen, you didn't want it to happen. We got a sniper fire here and there, and it was pot shot here and there, so it wasn't always heavy combat.
And what did you do on that off time when it wasn't heavy combat?
Oh, you read your letters from home. They're the most priceless things you could have, letters from home. You read them over and over. I had this this little portable record player that this guy had left me because he went home. And I used to listen to them old records over and over and over again.
What were you listening to? You remember?
Aretha Franklin, the old, I can't remember exactly, but I remember Aretha Franklin and a few others. Who was it? I can't remember. I would probably remember if I didn't think about it. But anyway, we would listen to records, and just try to have a good time amongst us, and reminisce and talk and what we were going to do when we got home, what have you. And then, and like I said, we got into a few firefights, but it wasn't as intense like up in the DMZ. But my best friend Porky, this other guy named Porky, we were like this, right? And we were going to go home at the same time because we came over on the ship at the same time. And he said he lived in East Oakland, and his girlfriend's name was Marilyn. And we would talk and exchange letters with our girlfriends, So I knew it was like me knowing Marilyn. I never saw her, but I knew her. We would talk through letters and what have you. And like I said, the letters were worth its weight in gold, And being that Porky was his name was James, really. Being that James was from East Oakland, he said, well, when we go back, we'll stop at my place, and do a little celebration. And then, we'll get on a plane and fly over on the East Coast and, do what we have to do, whatever we're stationed, what have you. And we look forward to that. Well, Porky had went out on this convoy up to Quezon, and they got hit, got into a fight. And a rocket-propelled grenade had hit Porky's truck, and his whole leg was gone. But he was okay. He was, hey, I said, man, you got $1 million wound. You're going home, and this was like in October of '67. He said, we only got a few more months, man. I said, I'll see you, when I get back, He said, yeah, man. I said, man, you're lucky. You got a lucky wound. Well, little did I know, a week later, he died in the Philippines because they had to amputate his leg, and he died of shock.
Oh, my God.
And, it just broke my heart, and I didn't believe it because the lieutenant came over. He said, Greg, he said, I got some bad news for you. I said, what? He said, Porky's dead. I said, oh, man. It just knocked me for a loop. So I still didn't believe him. I wrote his girlfriend, Marilyn. She said, yes. She said, James is gone, So I had one more big operation. By that time, they considered me old salt because I've been through a lot. I knew what to do, the do's and the don'ts. And they more or less followed me because I was always on point.
And how many months were you into this at this point?
Well, we got there in December, and no, we got there in November. So I only had like 3 months left, 2 months. Mm-hmm. And when we had one more big operation to do, and we were on this blocking force on Highway 1, which is near the coast, near the city of Quang Tri. And we were just going to be a blocking force for this other outfit. And we were sitting there eating our chow, on the side of the road, say, oh, man, this is easy. All you got to do is sit back and wait. And it's this mountain range that's behind you. Excuse me, it wasn't, damn. Forgive me, I get blocks. The big city. Damn. Anyway, the largest city up in the northern part of South Vietnam. Not Hanoi. That's up in the north. But anyway, we were sitting outside the city by the coast, and we were blocking for us, and we said, this is easy, and it's this long mountain range in the distance, not too far away from us. And all of a sudden, as we were sitting there eating, the whole mountain range lit up. I said, damn, everybody turned around and said, damn, what the heck is that? And we saw B-52 strikes from the distance, but we never saw it that close. That whole mountain range, it was awesome. It was awesome. it just tore up the whole mountain range, and you didn't see the B-52s because they were too high. So all you saw was the bottom line. They just, like a big giant lawnmower, just, and the ground was shaking like a earthquake, And we're sitting there looking at this in awe, We like, and I said, we're going in there. And everybody said, bullshit, we ain't. I said, yeah, we're going in there. They did that, we're going in. But no sooner I thought that, they said, get your gear together. We're going back to Camp Evans, and then we're going to go up into the mountains, which was just, Asheville Valley was further back, and these mountain ranges. And so anyway, we got our gear together the next day, and we headed out about 4 o'clock in the morning, and the whole regiment, 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, A, B, C, and D Company, we were going up in there. And I was in the lead company, C Company, Charlie Company, and we left out about 4 o'clock that morning, and we got to the base of the mountain range. We had to go up by rope. You carrying all of this equipment. You had to go up by rope. I mean, not all rope, but I mean places where you just couldn't do nothing but use the rope. And we climbed. It took us a whole day to get up the side of this mountain range. And when we got up there, you slide back down, and can you imagine breaking dirt and slime that's been sitting there for 1,000 years?
Yes.
The smell was unbelievable. And it was this horseshoe valley on my left. Horseshoe Valley, and I said, I hope we don't go up in there. I said, we go up in there, we're going to get hit. It's going to be bad. That's a perfect ambush. Well, see, it was like a mountain range here, and then it was like a row of them, like this. And we didn't go down there because we was the point company. We went back up another mountain range. And when we got up there, we had to go back down into another valley, And when we got down there, we were sitting there, and we knew that B Company and the other companies were behind us, And B Company and D Company went up into that valley. And as I'm sitting there, we eating our chow, and I'm talking to my crew, and we're, saying everything's quiet, everything's okay, it doesn't look too bad. And just as I thought that, this rocket propelled grenade went right by my head, swoosh, and exploded, and I turned around. My reflexes were so good, I just took my machine gun and just tore it up, And I know I got 3 or 4 of them without a doubt. And in the meantime, our mortarmen were so good, because we were all seasoned veterans, that they were so good, they could stick their mortar straight up and drop it within 25, 30 feet of you and not touch you. But they were good. They were really good. And we broke that attack. And at the same time, on the other side that we had just came from, the Horseshoe Valley area, B Company and D Company got hit bad. We could hear it. We could see the gunships going down into the valley. And like I said, in the meantime, we broke the attack on us. We broke that. It wasn't going to happen because I was too close to going home. And anyway, we could see the gunships circle around and go down into the valley and come out. And you see them circling around, going down, with the machine guns. And they were trying to help out B Company and D Company. And then we had to go back up from where we came to go down to rescue, to see what was happening with B and D Company. And when we got up to the top of the mountain, we couldn't even go down back into the valley where they were at. We had to stand up like this on the side of a mountain and sleep. You'd be surprised you can do it. You can do it. We stood up on the side of the mountain. You were sleeping. You were so tired. We were sleeping, standing up. And then when daybreak came, we went down into the valley, and it was horrific. I mean, it was a bullet hole in every leaf, twig, tree, you name it. And bodies were all over the place. And B Company survived it. They broke the attack, and they had already left when we got down there, and they had strung up these bodies, these MVA bodies, strung up by their feet. And they were hanging like sides of beef. And they had carved into their chest, compliments of Bravo Company. Because see, when you get in a situation like that, you become a savage. It's all together different plateau. It's not like, the civil. You're not civil. It's not like that. It's either kill or be killed. You become a savage. It's hard to explain.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity, and out of revenge, and out of anger. To see one of your guys get knocked off, or somebody that that you were close to, and that happened. And we tried to clean up the mess as best we could, and then we headed on back. And that was oh, by the way, that charge in the DMZ, the first charge he made, our beloved lieutenant got killed. He got killed, and he was we admired him. We looked up to him, and he got killed, But anyway, when we were going back to climb back up the mountains and heading back toward Camp Evans, I said, well, I'm getting short now, And when we got back, Sergeant Cassidy, I said, because he had went through all of this with us, And Sergeant Cassidy, I said, Sarge, I said, me and Lovett, I said, we're close, man. We don't go back out there, We're pressing it, So we have one more patrol to do, and we did one more patrol, and thank God nothing happened, except as we were going by this rice paddy, this rice dike. These two Navy jets were fully laden with bombs and rockets, right? And it was a 12-man patrol. And I'm walking, and we're walking, and I'm looking, and you say, man, just one more. These guys came down. They were going to kill us. They were going to bomb and strafe us because they thought we were the NBA. And they came down like this. They peeled off, and they came down. And I told everybody, I said, don't run. Don't run. I said, if you run, I said, we're dead. I said, wave your rifles, wave your weapons, And they came screaming down, they were going to do us in. And we were waving like this, and then we could see their flaps drop. And they slowed down, and then they circled around us. I could see the pilot's face just like I'm looking at you, and they circled around us and they gave us a thumbs up, and we said, yeah, we saluted them, and they circled around us and then they took off into the distance, and when we got back to the camp, we said, Sarge, you gotta, get us a spot where we don't have to go back out again. So he said, okay. He said, you guys have been through enough. He said, I tell you what. He said, you can do one or two things. Either you can work in a mess hall or you can burn shitters. I said, we'll burn shitters. I said, love it. Those are yours three over there. These are my three. So you had these cut off barrels with a long hook, and you just pull them out, pour gasoline in them, and burn them, and then you would have to supply the choppers that were coming in for supplies. You bring in the choppers and throw the supplies on and let them go on out to their business. And I did that until it was time for me to leave. And I left December 31st of 67. And before I left, they were bringing in a lot of new guys, a lot of new Marines. And I told them, I said, look, I try to tell them everything that I knew, all my experience, what to look for, what to do, what not to do, and I told him, I said, look, I said, I got a feeling, I got it in my bones that something's going to happen big. I said, I don't know what or where, but I said, I know something's going to happen, and they were looking at each other, and I'm saying, look, if nothing else, keep your weapon clean and ready at all times. Keep your weapon clean and ready and have plenty of water. I said, it's all you need. I said, but don't take nothing for granted. Don't take anything for granted. Oh, I skipped over. As we were coming back from the mountains, it was Operation Granite. As we're coming from Operation Granite, you never, ever, ever go down the same road that you came. Never. Common sense. And this colonel that we had, he was, I don't know where they got him from, But anyway, he was in a hurry to get back to Camp Evans. So he said, no, we're going to go down. Everybody looked at each other, and I'm saying, like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? I said, we've been through all this. He's going to take us back down the same road because you don't know what you're going to run into. Well, we had to follow orders. Now, I'm in the lead squad, lead machine gun, right? We're walking along, and all of a sudden, Sergeant DeFord blew up. He was about 3 guys in front of me, because we were like I said, staggered column, and he blew up. Poof! He went up in the air. As that happened, I stepped on the mine.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, and it was it. When I stepped on it, I heard a psst. I said, "What the?" And I looked down, and it looked like cigarette smoke coming up out of the ground. And it was a 155 shell that was going to detonate. And what would happen? It was a sink mine, so that once you step on it, the whole field would blow up. All the mines would blow up at the same time and wipe out whoever was in there. And I said, man, I'm a dead man. You know, I said, I took my foot off slowly, and I took my machine gun and set it on the side, and I crawled away from it. But I said, if this thing goes off, I'm dead anyway because I'm too close. You know, and it didn't go off, but Sergeant DeFoy blew up. They didn't rig it right, you know, so we had to backtrack out of that area. And this lieutenant that we had, this new lieutenant, he panicked and ran
Forward?
back. He ran back, and everybody said, "What the hell is he doing?" He ran back, and then we never saw him after that. Yeah, they shipped him out. You know, but we had to backstep out of there and go through the bushes like we should have in the first place. You know, so that cost Sergeant DeFoy his life. You know, and when we got back to base, and then that's when this guy named Lofton and myself asked Sergeant, Sergeant, if we could do other duties in the base. We don't want to go back out. We had enough. So that's when he said, yeah, you guys have had enough. So we're not going to press the issue.
Is that the first time you felt at peace? Was there ever a moment where you felt at peace? That was the first. You know, at Dong Ha, when we were back at Dong Ha, I told Lovett, I said, man, looked like we made the grade. And I remember they were going to send us on R&R around June of that year, but Lovett and myself and Porky, we all said, if we're going to go on R&R, let's do it just before we leave. You know, let's get through this. And we went to R&R in Bangkok in November. Okay, in November, before that big operation, and we had a good time. You know, had a good time, party. We did everything we wanted to do, and we got back. And then every time when we landed in Da Nang, we would say we would ask the people, "Where's 1st Battalion, 4th Marines? Where they at?" "Oh, they're in Phu-Bai." And then we would fly up to Phu-Bai, and they would just leave. We was like one step behind them because we didn't go out. And finally, when we got up to Dong Ha, they said they left. And that's when Sergeant Cassidy said, well, you guys can burn shitters or whatever. So I said, well, our time is up. You know, so we did that. And then when it was time to leave, get on the plane, we flew down to, at Dong Ha, we're sitting there, and the base is getting shelled, right? I mean, they were really firing at Dong Ha Air Base. You know, explosions all over the place, and the planes were landing, but they weren't stopping. They were landing, and they would drop their stuff and just keep going. You know, that's how hot it was there. When I say hot, I mean dangerous. And so I had my gear, my bag and stuff after I was tutoring the new people what to do and what not to do. And Lieutenant was in his Jeep. He said, where you going, Marine? I said, I'm going down to the air base. I'm going home. He said, you sure you want to go down there? You see what's happening? I said, get me close as you can, you know. And he took me down there, and I jumped off that Jeep, and the plane was leaving. I ran up the back of that plane and got on there, and I was praying. I said, Lord, please don't let a round hit this plane, not after all I've been through. And when he took off, I breathed a sigh of relief. And we flew down to Da Nang, and we got down to Da Nang, and we were able to refresh ourselves, what have you. And then we had to wait one day, and we got on a plane on the jetliner, and we took off. And they said we would be heading for Tokyo first, and from Tokyo we'd fly across to Alaska, from Alaska down the west coast down to L.A., you know, or San Diego, L.A. And no, it was San Diego, or was it? Yeah. Anyway, we were flying up to Tokyo, and we were there for about an hour,
hour and a half. And the guys, it said, the stewardesses, we hadn't seen women like that in a long time. We were like, wow, look at her, and wow, look at her. And when they opened up the door to let some people off the plane, that cold was like a stab in the face. Because we were so used to 100-degree and more weather. When they opened up that door, everybody saying, shut that MFing door. We're not getting off the plane, shut it, And they had to shut the door because it was so cold. We haven't felt cold like that since we had left home. So we were there for about an hour and a half, and then I guess they were refueling or something. And we took off again, and we flew all the way across the Pacific to Anchorage, Alaska. And the whole time that we were flying, we were praying, don't let this plane go down, because if it goes down, they'll never find us. It'll be all for naught. We'd be lost at sea. We'd be down in the ocean somewhere, never to be seen again. And when it landed in Anchorage, Alaska, everybody breathed a sigh of relief. And when we left Vietnam, we were shouting and screaming on a plane. It was great, jubilation all over the place. And when we landed in Frisco, that's where we landed. We landed in Frisco, and from Anchorage. And when we got off the plane, it was like we were in heaven. Like, wow, we made it. We saw the Golden Gate Bridge from flying over it, and we said, man, we made it. And we got there. When we got off the plane, they had buses waiting for us. I guess it was about 30 Marines or something like that. And they took us to the base. And when we got to the base, we had to, check in and sign in. We was on the stairwell leading up to the second floor. We just happy, just giddy, just like school kids, just having a great time. Oh, man. And this little sergeant, she was about this high. She was a Sergeant Marine, this woman. She was a gunny. She had some stripes. And she said, all right, jarheads, just calm down, everything will be all right. And we just kept going. She said, all right, I told you. And everybody, and we paid attention, and got everything squared away. And so they said, well, you can catch a flight and you guys can go right across, the states to your homes and what have you. And I said, well, I told the guys, I said, look, I'm going to call. I got a phone call to make. He said, you call? I said, I'm calling Porky's girl.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
To let her know that I got back safe, So I called her on the phone. And she said, oh, yeah. She said, well, we're waiting for you. I said, waiting for me? She said, yeah, we're waiting for you, So she said, can you stay a few days? I said, yeah, I guess I can, So I told the guys, I said, look, you guys go ahead. I'll catch up with you on the East Coast, So I'm standing outside of the airport, and I have my sea bag and everything, and I'm waiting. And this guy with this long black limousine pulls up, And he said, where you going, Marine? I said, I'm going to East Oakland, He said, oh, yeah, you going there? I said, yeah. He said, well, tell you what. He said, I'll take you, I said, oh, okay, So the chauffeur got out the car, took my sea bag, threw it in the back trunk, and I said, man, this is great. I said, God, you're great, And we sitting there, we were waiting for him to get this other person from off of another flight. And he was questioning me about everything. What happened here? What happened here? What did you do? And of course, I told him what he wanted to hear, but I didn't go into great detail, not like I'm with you guys. And he took me to East Oakland, 8215 Nay Avenue. I'll never forget that. And he took me to Nay Avenue, and Marilyn's mother's house, it would look like one of those haciendas with the the Mexican style homes. And he had this great big old arch window, right? And I said, well, thanks a lot. And I shook his hand. He said, yeah, you take care, Marine. You did a good job, blah, blah. And I got my sea bag, and I'm standing there, and I look, and all these people are standing in a big picture window, smiling at me and waving. I said, wow, this is great. So they let me in, and they were all, Greg, we're glad to see you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, this is great. And they fixed me a dinner that you wouldn't believe. It was fabulous. You know, they had chicken, roast beef, sweet potatoes, greens. They had everything that I like, macaroni and all this stuff. But you know something? I couldn't eat it all. I just couldn't. You know, I could eat just a spot here and a spot there. And her mother was saying, Craig, is something wrong with the food? I said, no, ma'am. I said, there's nothing wrong with the food. I said, it's my stomach. I'm not used to this food. You know, I said, I can't eat. I said, it doesn't taste bad. It's not making me sick. But my stomach muscles are shrunk so that I can only eat but so much. You know? And he said, we understand. So I met her brother. He was a policeman. And he took a liking to me. And Marilyn, we talked for a long time. She said, well, I'm going to take you over to James's mother's house so they could talk. I said, no, don't do that. I said, I can't go. I said, if I see them and they see me, we're going to break down. I said, I know she's going to say, why isn't my son home instead of, someone else? So I said, you can call them and I'll talk to them, So she called them up, and I talked to James' parents, and it filled me up. I couldn't say but so much, but it filled me up. And then after that, I couldn't sleep on the bed because the bed was too soft. I had to sleep on the floor, a lot of things I wasn't used to. And then her brother took me to my first professional game, the Oakland Raiders. It just like, I was like, am I really here? And I'm looking at all this stuff. And he said, Greg, he said, look, he said, when you're done, he said, come back this way. I'll get you a job. You can be a cop. You can be a policeman. So I thought about it, but I was thinking to myself, no more weapons for me.
Yeah.
I've had it, no more weapons. And I stayed there for about a couple days, about at least 4 or 5 days. And in the meantime, I did call my parents. So they knew that I was safe in the States, but they didn't know where. And I wouldn't tell them. I said, I'll be there. Just don't worry, I'll be there. So they took me to the airport, and I flew home. And when I got off the plane, I'm walking down a walkway, and people are looking at me like I'm kind of a zombie, some kind of a monster. And I didn't get it because, see, there was negative things going on here, but they kept it from us. We didn't know anything about it. And this one girl walked by me and spat at me. I said, what in the world is this about? I couldn't figure it out. And I walked out of the airport, and I'm standing there, and this one taxi driver said, hey man, I'll give you a free ride. I said, no. I said, I want to catch that stinking PTC bus. I want to ride that bus, that city bus. That's what I want to do. And the bus came up, and I got on the bus, and the guy said, you ain't got to pay nothing, man. I said, okay. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Broad Street. They said, okay, I'll take you to Broad and Snyder. I said, that's where I want to go. And I got off at Broad and Snyder, and I went down the subway steps, and I loved that stinking smell of the subway. And I got on the subway, and at the time, the subways aren't like they are now. They were old trains, but I got on the subway, and I'm riding, and I'm looking around. I said, man, not long ago, I was out there fighting for my life, and here I am heading home, and I enjoyed that ride like you wouldn't believe. And I got off at Broad and Erie, and I looked around. I said, man, I'm home. And when I got home, I went, I didn't have a key, so I had to knock on knock on my door, and my sister opened the door, and she screamed, and my mother, she came and she screamed and hugged me and was kissing me, and, it was great. It was great. My father, he was beaming with pride, and yeah, that's my boy, and it was great, man. And then after that, I got on the subway and went up to see my girlfriend. And one thing, before I left, her mother said, you wouldn't make it. Her mother said that to me. You're not going to make it, And you know what? When I got back and I knocked on the door, and her little sister, she was little at the time, she had, oh, Greg, it's Greg, And I went upstairs, and I'm hugging my girlfriend and kissing, and everything. And I walked to her mother's bedroom. The door was closed. And I knocked on the door. She said, come in. And I opened the door. I said, I made it.
Wow.
I looked right at her. and said, I made it.
Wow.
You know, I never forget that. That's
Yeah.
the honest, God strike me dead if I'm lying. You know, everything I'm telling you is the truth.
Mhm.
And she looked at me, you know, and she had a funny look on her face. And I went on back and you know, back to my girlfriend, and we just hugged and talked and what have you. And it was great from there. You know, it was great from there.
Wow.
So what type, you had to have a very difficult transition. I mean, how were you accepted? Sounds like you had such a warm reception from your family,
Mhm.
but the community, maybe not so much when,
Well,
Yeah,
the
so I was gonna
community,
ask that.
well, see, the community in Tyler, they were diversified and they really didn't care one way or the other. You know, I was just another guy in a uniform, but they didn't know what I had been through, nothing like that. You know, some of my old buddies from junior high and senior high, they were in another world, and I didn't know it. They were in the drugs,
Mhm.
and I didn't know. It was like night and day. When I left, the neighborhood was clean. When I came back, it was dirty. And at the time, they had these houses sitting across from my mother's house. And all my friends that I went to school with, high school, and that grew up with that didn't go into service, they were drug pushers, you know? And I didn't know it. And I come out the house, and my brother, excuse me, my older brother, he was in the drugs. And I didn't realize what was going on. It was totally new to me, you know? And I remember they were sitting across the street, Tyrone and Gilbert and all those guys were sitting across the street. Hey, Greg, and they shake my hand. You back? You made it? Blah, blah. And they look at each other like, he ain't nothing but an idiot. How did he go over there in the first place? But I didn't, like I said, I didn't realize what they were doing, you know. And I'm sitting there, sitting amongst them, talking. It's like an angel sitting amongst devils, you know, because I had not a clue that they were in the drugs.
you didn't see drugs in Vietnam?
We saw, yeah, we did smoke weed, but let me tell you something. We did not smoke weed unless we knew for sure that we weren't going out.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only time. That stuff that you see on TV with them smoking weed in the bush, that's bull. That's crazy. Nobody would do that. Because when you're out there in the bush, you got to have all your faculties. You cannot allow weed. Well, the first time I got high on marijuana, I was back in the base at Dong Han. We didn't even have tents. We slept out in the open on racks. Didn't even have a tent. And I remember the guys were saying, "Hey, Greg, you want to try some of this weed?" I said, "What is weed? I don't know about no weed." I said, "Here, try this, man. You know, drinking beer, just take a few puffs." So I said, "Oh, all right." Man, I smoked that weed. And I said, "There ain't nothing to this." You know, and next thing I knew, man, my head was on cloud nine. Whoa, man, what is going on? You know, and I fell on my rack, and I walked by the lieutenant. He said, "Greg, you all right?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'm all right." And I got to my rack, and I fell flat face on my rack. You know, I was out like a light, you know. And it was the only time like I said, the only time we smoked weed is when we were in the rear base and we knew we were going out because we just got in it and other battalions were going out. We knew we were going out. And in Bangkok, we smoked a lot of weed in Bangkok because, you know, that was party land, you know. But other than that, no, it was taboo. If you even had an inkling that you were going down the bush, you did not get high on anything. Matter of fact, 2 cans of beer would knock me out. 2 cans. One would get me high and one would knock me out. You know, that's how clean we were. You know, everything that we ate, and if you ran out of food in the bush, whatever the monkeys ate, you ate. So whatever you see them eating, you munch on it. The yams, the wild yams that they had in the ground were delicious. Delicious. You take your bayonet and you peel it and you put some sticks and grass, or not sticks, not grass, sticks and whatever you can find, cardboard, whatever you stick, put it in the ground, and put your potato or whatever you got in there, and cook it like that. And you take your bayonet, stick in there, and oh God, you're talking about something good. That was delicious because a lot of times you didn't have water. And one time we were up in the DMZ and we ran out of food, and they told us, you know, never, whatever we tell you to take, you take. Well, a lot of guys have discarded things because they think they wouldn't need them. But, we got caught out there a number of times and we needed. And I never threw away my sea rations. Never. And I had 1 can of pork steak. Okay, it's 3 slices of pork steak in a can, like this, about like that. And that's all I had. No water, no nothing. And it was all of it. It was my squad was there, and I said, I'm gonna hold on. And we were out in the bush for about at least 6 or 7 days because a lot of the chopper force got shot down. They couldn't resupply us. So I took that 1 can of pork steak and I opened it up, and I took my bayonet and my K-bar and I sliced it down the middle. So instead of me having 3 pieces, I had 6. So I took my K-bar and I gave each one of my guys a half a piece, and they scarfed it up, and I said, Sarge, here, you take. No, Lofton, yeah. I said, no, take it, and he took it, and I took the last piece, and I ate it, and guess what? That 1/2 of pork steak filled me up. And how you see the fatty juice and stuff around a ham can? I licked it till it was bone dry. Till it was bone dry. It was the best meal I ever had. And that 1/2 of pork steak lasted me at least a day and a half. That's no lie. And so when I see people out here discarding things and taking things for granted, it makes me shake my head. Say, if you only knew. And a lot of people that are not in that situation, they can't even imagine being that way. They can drinking buffalo water? No way. I ain't drinking that. Oh, yes, you will. Yes, you will. Mm-hmm. If you pee in that toilet and you don't have water, you'll drink it. You will drink it. I don't care what nobody did. I'll tell them a damn lie in front of their face. You'll drink it. Mm-hmm. You'll be surprised. And it will sustain you because animals do it all the time. They drink that water all the time. But we are so choosy as humans. We're choosy. Mm-hmm. So, but hey, that's the way it is if you want to survive. But come to find out, to make a long story short, a lot of my friends who I grew up with didn't make it. They died. They got killed out there on the streets. Yeah. It's just, I don't know whether you even remember the shootout in Atlantic City back in 72 or 71, somewhere around there. I can't remember. These were all my school buddies. We all went from elementary school to high school. They got into the wrong business, Tyrone and Gilbert Satterwhite and a few others, and they got into a gun battle in Atlantic City, and they got killed. Yeah.
After what you survived,
yeah,
that's what happened to them.
Yeah, because they went the wrong roads, And to this day, I still see a few of my acquaintances from back then. Sylvia Satterwhite was Gilbert Satterwhite's twin, and she and I are very close. And a few other people that I met along that I grew up with are very close.
Do you maintain any relationships with anyone that you served with?
No. I tell you why, because there's none of us left. One thing I found out, one statistic that I found out, that out of all the troops that went over to Vietnam, only 20% did the fighting. 20%. Mm-hmm. The rest were support personnel. Can you believe that? And I didn't find that out until a few years ago, and I just happened to read it. I said, what? I thought everybody was fighting. No, only 20%. That's the truth. Wow. You can look it up yourself.
So everyone that you were surrounded with was fighting, but you didn't see the other 80%.
No, they were support personnel, But we were out there doing in the bush, doing the actual fighting, So I don't resent it. It's just the place that God put me, and I survived it. But like I said, a lot of the guys that went over when I did, they're no longer living, or God knows what happened to them. Mm-hmm. I've seen a few advertisements in some military magazines about reunions, but it's just too small a population of us guys left. It's not many at all. So, and for the I also found out another thing, that a lot of the people that fought in World War II, they fought one battle or two. we fought all the way through the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was constant, one battle after another. You know, when, you know, some people fought at Iwo Jima, never to fight ever again. And you had some people that fought in Europe, never to fight again, but 1 or 2 days, 2 big battles, which were important. I'm not taking anything away from them, you know, but with us, it was constant, you know. It was, I won't say it was constant, but what I will say is that we got into some heavy fighting, more than we should have at that time in 1967. 67, from 66 to 68 were the roughest years. And when I told those guys before I left that there was something was going to happen, no sooner did that happen when I'm home on leave, I see my guys fighting in Hue. Okay, in Hue, the Battle of Hue. You know, when the North Vietnamese came down, and I'm saying, man, I don't believe this. I just missed that by a month.
So were you watching the news? Were you watching
Yeah.
this? You were watching it.
Yeah, I was watching and I was saying, man. Now I don't know where my company was at that time, but every Marine is a Marine, no matter where you're at.
Were any left behind as prisoners that you knew?
Left behind?
Yeah, as a prisoner.
No.
No.
We die first before we become a prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not. Everybody had that oath. We'll die first before we become a prisoner. You ain't taking me alive. You know, and that's the way we thought. That was our brain. That's what was in our brain. We were taught that. You know, you go down fighting. You don't go down like a punk or a chump. You know, if you're gonna take me, you're gonna feel some pain. You know, so we never. The thought of surrender was not in our vocabulary. You know, it just wasn't. Been through a lot of close calls or incidences like that. It becomes the norm. You know, it becomes the norm. It becomes a part of you. You know, so that's the way it was. You know, I've told you guys a lot of stuff that, and like I said, there's not a lot of us around. Very few.
So I have 2 questions I want to ask
Yeah.
you, and one I want to end with. But did you have any mementos that you kept with you?
Only thing I have with me is that I keep with me is just album and my ribbons,
And what about when you were fighting?
my K-bar. You know, I have a K-bar that I have at home. You know, but no, I didn't. When I left, I didn't want to bring anything with me really.
You didn't carry pictures of loved ones
No,
with you?
no. That was a no.
That was a no-no.
No, you didn't carry no pictures of loved ones with you. If anything, you kept it at the rear, in the base, in your bag or something. But you never carry. Like you see these movies where they got the pictures of the girl.
Yeah.
No, you didn't do that, because if the enemy ever got a hold of it, and Hanoi Hannah would come over the radio, sometimes she would come over and, Marines, you're going to die. And it was a propaganda thing. And then they said, we're going to send jets to bomb you. That scared the crap out of me, because I knew our jets were vicious. Those Marine and Navy pilots, they were good. You know, if you needed some cover, they would come in and do the job. You know, we never had to worry about the Marine Corps pilots or the Navy pilots, because we were like one. You know, we were like brothers. You know, they took care of us. Air Force and Army, we didn't. You know, but the Navy, we were part of the Navy.
Yeah.
The Navy and the Marines and the Air and the Naval Air, they were the best. They could drop stuff right in front of you. You could hear them. You couldn't hear them coming. Only when they went by. So like if you're down on the ground and you're shooting, and all of a sudden whoosh over your head, and you see them drop the napalm and stuff in front of you. But they were never short. They were always on target, you know, and we depended on them a lot. I kissed their boots. Believe it, we depended on them a lot, an awful lot, you know, to get us out of situations. You know, we knew that once the air came, you know, that was like our right arm, you know. So, and then when you're out there, you don't really need a compass. You learn. You'd be surprised. You learn directions. You know, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Okay, On your left is the west. On your right is the east. You look at those things. Which way is north? North is that way. And you don't really, like I said, once you have been out there long enough, you know where you're going. You know where you're going. So I never had a problem. But like one time we went out there, when I told you about those two jets that were going to get us, we were out there and the sergeant Sergeant Peterson said, we got to go this way. I said, no, we got to go back this way. He said, you sure, Lofton? I said, I'm sure. I said, you got the map, but I know where we're going. And that's when we headed back because we were almost like lost to the company. They didn't know where we were really. And when we headed back and the two jets came down and they didn't bomb us or strafe us or anything, then way in the distance we saw a green flare. I said, that's where we got to go, because they radioed in. We found them, and we went on back. But once you're out there, you get to know north from south, east from west, and then you time yourself. I walked a half hour this way, I walked a half hour that way, what have you. And that's the way you survive. That's the way you survive, because if you don't, and then you walk by a village, you better be whistling and act like you got the whole army behind you, because you never know what you're going to run into. You never know. You got to be prepared, and your weapon must be clean, ready at all times. And I always had compliments for my weapon, because my weapon was my life. Without that, even when we was in the rear, I wouldn't have no ammunition hooked up to it. But I had my machine gun strapped to my arm. It went everywhere I went, And when I gave it up to the guy that replaced me, I said, "You take care of this; it'll take care of you." So you don't take care of it, it ain't gonna take care of you. When we were at the DMC earlier in my tour, the gunner, he didn't clean the machine gun, and I was telling him, I said, Rainwater, I said that thing is dirty. It's not gonna work. Oh man, mind your fucking business. I said, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. Well, good. I was praying that we didn't run into anything, and we didn't. When we got back to base and we had inspection, he tried to fire. It was one shot. I said, see, tried to tell you. And I just yanked the gun and took it and cleaned it myself. I broke everything down and cleaned it myself. I said, this is the way it's going to stay. I don't care who you are. And he had rank above me. But I said, this is my life. And I made sure that thing, you could eat off of it. It was that clean, But a lot of little things happened, but got by, got through it.
I saw for Veterans Day a couple of years ago, we interviewed some people who worked here, who were in the service, and just a couple of the questions we asked them, and I'll ask you. So from your time in the service, is there anything you learned or experienced that you kept with you after you got out of the service, like in your career with your family?
Oh, yeah. One thing I learned is that prejudices are secondary. I don't look at anybody's skin color. I look at their heart. I don't look at what's up here. I look at what's in here. That's me. That's the main thing I learned. Bohan was white, Porky was black. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. In life and death situations, it doesn't mean anything. What matters is what's in your heart. That's the truth. See, I've experienced the truth. A lot of people have not experienced the truth. And when I see these idiots out here shooting and killing each other, I said, man, if you only knew what I knew, you would. Like today, a lot of people say, well, I'm gonna get me a gun. I'm gonna carry me. I'm not carrying no weapon. I know the devastating impact of a bullet. I'm not carrying it. If God takes me, he takes me. But I'm not carrying a weapon ever again. Ever again. I had my fill. I had more than my fill. I always tell my wife, I said, if these guys knew the devastating impact of a bullet, they don't know it until it hits them. Then they're crying, mama and daddy. Come help me. Somebody help me. Well, what the hell are you doing with a gun in the first place? Gun is for law enforcement. That's it. That's it. Because when I came back, they wanted me to join the police force. My wife said no. She said, no, Greg. She said, you had enough. I said, yeah, you're right. So I was going to join the fire department. She said, no, you've done enough. I said, yeah, you're right. So I didn't. But that's the truth of the matter is that you got to be truthful with yourself. You know, you got to look a person in the eye and say either, you know, you're right or you're wrong. And with me, it's no in between. You know, it's no gray area. Either you are or you aren't, you know. And I know by your actions just where you're coming from. And if you're negative, I don't have nothing to do with you. You know, I don't have nothing to do with you because I've been around pure people, and I know what pure is. You know, pure love. I know what it is. A lot of people don't know that. They don't know what it is until they come into life and death situations. Then they'll know what love is. You know, but until that time, nah. You know, so, you know, like I said, I've experienced a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a lot of situations since I've been out of the service, but I always managed to walk away. You know, I always managed to use my experience, my past experiences, to get me through, you know, situations. You know, just walk away. You know, that don't mean I won't defend myself. You know, but I'm not going to press the issue. You know, I'm going to walk away to live another day. You know, because the most final thing is death. And I've seen enough of it, enough to know that the final thing is death. You know, nobody can escape it. You know, it's going to come. Everybody's going to get it. It's just how you get it. You know, and hopefully the Lord bless me. You know, I'll just go in my sleep. You know, because all of a sudden you were here one day. You don't know how you got here. You were here, and just like you don't know how you got here, then you're going to leave the same way. You know, if the Lord allows. My father, he died in his sleep. My mother died in her sleep. My brother died in his sleep. I'm hoping I'll be blessed too to die in my sleep. Nobody lives forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But as far as the people that I know today, they're good people. Like I said, I experienced a lot, you know. But the war, it never leaves you. Every day I think about it. Every day.
So yesterday was Memorial Day.
Yeah, every day. But see, to me, every day is Memorial Day to me. You know, because I think about all my buddies that didn't make it. They got killed, got shot. This one guy, Davidson, we were up in the DMZ, and his father had died, and they took him out of the field, sent him home. Within a week, he was back. And when he came back, we were under a mortar attack, and he got hit. And all that night, I heard him groan from the wound. He just groaned all night long. You know, there was nothing we could do. We couldn't send nobody in to get him because it was nighttime. You know, you don't send choppers in at night in a battlefield. And we couldn't do anything. And he died, and he moaned and moaned all night long. I could hear him just even now. And before they could get him out, he died from a mortar shell, you know. Things like that, you know, they just stick with you. I mean, sometimes I could be walking down the street and it jumps up in your mind. I could be eating dinner, it jumps up in your mind. I could be going to bed, it jumps up in your mind. I could be watching TV, it jumps up in your mind. I could be just doing nothing, it'll just jump up in your mind. You know, and it happens every day. Every day. You know, and some people say, how do you handle that? I live with it. You know, it's a part of my life. It happened. I'm not going to let it drive me crazy. You know, I'm not going to let it conquer me. You know, I remember good times just as well as bad. You know, but every day that I live, I reminisce. You know, like I said, I had good times, but I had a lot of horrible times and a lot of so-so times. But the horrible times were, you'd be surprised what man can do to man. It's unbelievable. You don't ever want to see it. You don't ever want to see it. You don't ever want to experience it because it's something it's indescribable almost. You know, what one man can do to another. Sticking a bayonet into another man. You know, I don't know that man. That man had a family and wife just like me. You know, and I killed him. You know, but it was at that time, it didn't seem that way. You know, it was the enemy. It was either me or him. You know, but when you look back on it, you look at all of the bodies that are dead laying there, it's like, how come it didn't happen to me? And you can't figure it out. except that God wasn't ready for you. That's all I can say. God wasn't ready for me. Because by all accounts, by all rights, I should have been dead. Should have been, but I wasn't, It just didn't happen. Too many close calls. But you would call it a close call to me. It was a close call, but to God, it was like miles apart. He just wasn't ready for me. That's why I say when they say 20% of the troops that went over there and fought, it was only 20%. I can understand now because all of the veterans that I know, that I've seen or come in contact with, they weren't in the field. They were either supplies or in the airport or something of that order. They were, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate what they did. Without them we couldn't have made it. Without them we could not have made it. But they were in a much different, safer field than what we were. So 20% of us, both Army and Navy, Army and Navy did the fighting. The other 80% didn't. They helped. They just stood back and gave us what we needed to continue to fight, and that was it. So to train the Marine officers, so whatever we did, they had to listen. They had to listen. Was no such thing as rank. They had to listen to us, because we guys were salts. We knew what was going on, and we knew they were going over there, and we knew that they were going to be leaders, and they had to protect their men and save lives. Well, the only way you're going to do it is to listen to somebody who's been through it, so you'll know what to do when you get there, and you take nothing for granted. You never take anything for granted in the battle zone, So those things give you an example. They were on a training mission. These we call them West Pointers. They weren't from West Point, but they did the same. They were same type scenario. Quantico is like the West Point for Marines, and I'm sitting there with my rifle on the road, and I'm eating my chow, and they're walking by, and I'm saying, I'm gonna see if they're gonna stop me and ask me questions or anything, or arrest me or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and they walked by, and the sergeant was walking, and he was looking like, and I'm just sitting there eating my chow, and they just walked right by, and a few guys looked down at me, and they kept walking. And after they walked by me, I took my blanks and shot them all in the back, and the sergeant said, "See, you motherfuckers, can't you see what happened?" And he said, "Now listen to this man," and I would get up there and I would lecture him, and I was just a lance corporal. But I would lecture them. I said, I've been to it. I said, you cannot take anything for granted, And I talked to them for about a good 10, 15 minutes. And the gunny said, listen to everything he says, because what he says is no bullshit. It's the truth, Take this as a lesson. He said, you're all dead because you just took it for granted, So that was just one thing. But it was fun there at Quantico. And then when I got discharged, it was kind of sad, but I was glad, and I was inactive for 2 years. So, and then I got my final discharge in 70, and one more thing, around 1990, I'm sitting on the subway, right, going up, I don't know where I was going downtown somewhere. I'm sitting on the subway, and I had my hand out like this, So this guy comes walking down the aisle. He stops in front of me. He said, He said, is that a Marine Corps ring? I said, yeah. He said, you're a Marine? I said, yeah. He said, yeah. He said, so was I. He said, what outfit? Did you go to Vietnam? I said, yeah. He said, what battalion were you? I said, I was 1st Battalion, 4th Marine, 3rd Marine Division. He said, what were you? I said, I was a machine gunner. I said, they trained me to use flamethrowers and bazookas and recoilless rifles. But I said, when I got over there, they put me in machine guns. I said, I was a grunt. He said, well, what are you getting? I said, what do you mean, what am I getting? He said, wait a minute. He said, back up. He said, you mean to tell me you've been through all of that and you're not getting anything? I said, no. He said, oh, man, I got to school you. He wrote down, he said, look, you got to go to the DAV. You got to tell them what you did, where you've been. you know, your health record, you know, all of this. You gotta get paid, man. And so I said, well, I don't know. He said, man, you go down there now. You know, so I told my wife, I said, well, I said, Barbara, I'll go down to DAV and, you know, probably nothing will happen. But if it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. I'm working. I got a job, you know, what have you. And at the time I was working for Scepter, you know, so I was making pretty good money. I was happy. And I went down there a week later to the DAV. And when I went in there and I told them, you know, what was going on, they jumped around me like a bunch of bees. You did what? You were wearing? And they're writing down all these notes. I'm like, what's going on? You know, and I was telling them everything, you know, my experiences, just like I'm telling you, but not in depth like I'm telling you, you know. And they said, wow. And they looked at my record. They looked up my record and they said, man, matter of fact, in parentheses, when I reported to Quantico, my captain, he looked at my record. He said, damn, Lofton, you went through all of this and you're still alive? You know, he couldn't believe it. He said, man, you're still alive? I said, look at this. I had a portfolio about that thick. He said, you've been in all these operations and you're still alive? I said, yeah. But anyway, next thing I knew, he said, so he told me, he said, well, in about a half a year time, you'll start receiving a compensation check. So I said, okay, you know, it's no big deal. You know, if you give me something, fine. If you don't, I'm not going to cry about it. Well, within a matter of fact, in a matter of a couple months, he sent me a check, you know, $400 check. I said, oh, okay. You know, and then next thing I knew, it grew and grew and grew, you know. So like now I'm fully compensated for my troubles. But the thing about it is not retroactive.
Yeah.
You know, so, because I asked guys, is it retroactive? I get a lot of money. They said, no, it's not retroactive. It's only if you apply. So from 1990, I've been getting paid, you know, and it's good. It's a blessing. You know, I use it right, you know, so.
Well, you want to meet that guy again and shake his hand.
Yeah, I can't even remember what he even looks like. But it was just happening. I was just sitting there like this.
What a
you know,
chance encounter.
I would have never got paid.
Right.
Wow.
You know, but
I've not known that.
Yeah, I would never have known. You know, just by chance. My mother said, you are the luckiest person in the world. I said, no, it's not luck. I said, it's just God, you know, watching over me. You know, I am not bragging about anything. You know, I didn't make it happen. It just happened. You know, so, yeah, they compensate me now. You know, anything I want, when I go down, if I go down to the VA for anything, I get it. You know, and it's just payback. And I do it not just for me, but for all of the guys that didn't make it. Gutloff, Porky, you know, Bohan, you know, all them guys that got killed. And it's just something, like I said, that never leaves you. And all those guys that died, they always, if I do something wrong, they point me in the right direction. You know, in my heart and in my mind. They point me in the right direction. Greg, don't do that. Greg, do it this way. You know, so, yeah. Yeah, that's man, I'll do anything to. I don't even know where Hunt lives. I don't know where Joe Lynch lives. I know they made it back, but I don't know where they're at. But anybody else, and I mean here in Philly, I don't even know if they're still living. You know, I'll be 75 soon. But time flies by so fast. You know, before you know it, you know, 74 to go into 75, you know. So that's why I go to the gym every other day. I work out every other day. I go in and I press myself, you know, not to injure myself, but I can hold my own, you know. I can hold my own, you know. So I go to the gym Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I do have a cardiac problem with my heart. You know, so I go to the cardiology gym over
Cardiac rehab?
Cardiac rehab. I go there Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I get in a good hour and a half workout, you know, and I come on out. I'm feeling great, you know. So I'll put it like this, you know, I'll keep doing what I'm doing until the good Lord calls me, you know.
So do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to share with your family?
Well,
that you haven't shared with them? Since.
Well, I don't share my war experiences with them
Mhm,
because I don't want them to look at me differently.
mhm.
You know, I don't want to look at me as a killer or a murderer or something like that. You know, no. So I just, take care of them. I love them all. I love them dearly, and I give my life for them. For any of my friends, I give my life. To if they're right, if they're in the right. That's just me. You know, but other than that, all I can say is whatever you do, make sure it's right and give it to God. In the end, you got to give it to God. You know, there's no such thing as being lucky. Really, it's a blessing, and you got to believe. Because before I went to war, I was a Baptist. I'm a Baptist, and I used to go to church every Sunday. My mother sent us to church every Sunday, and it was praise the Lord Jesus, and this is what you. But I always had, as a youngster, you always had like a doubt in your mind: is God really there? Is Jesus really? Is there really a God? Well, let me tell you something. On that battlefield, I found out there is a God. There is. There's no doubt in my mind. Because, like I said, there's no way in the world I should be sitting here talking to you. No way. Nobody can be that quote unquote lucky. But it just was me. Joe Lynch. I heard that Joe Lynch in that mortar attack with B Company, his head got shot off, and they had to send him back home. Hunt. They said that Hunt and B Company broke the attack up there in Operation Granite with his machine gun, but I haven't seen him. He made it back, you know. I know I'm jumping all over the area. I'm sorry, but all I can say is good talking to you
Yeah.
because I can this to me is refreshing. I can let it out, because I don't talk to people, not about that. I talk to people about a lot of things, but not about that. A lot of people don't even know that I've been in a war. They don't even know what I've been through. And that's the way it is. With most veterans like myself that have been through a lot of combat, they ain't going to talk about it because there's nothing to really brag about. It just happened. I'm not any better than you and you. It just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got through it. Some people may believe me and some people don't. I don't really care. But God knows. And that's what counts.